evening. Time for Property Management Committee. Call the roll.
Commissioner Dodd? Commissioner Davidson?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here.
Commissioner Phillips?
Present.
Commissioner Irvin? Here. Commissioner Johnson?
Present.
Chairman McAdoo?
Here.
Thank y'all.
Next on the agenda, approval of the minutes. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've reviewed the minutes and found them to be in order and move to approve. And that's the August 29th minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that approval of the minutes? Commissioner Davidson, all those in favor?
Aye.
I see Commissioner Dodd. Okay, any public comments? No public comments. Next on the agenda, Sycamore tree on historic courthouse grounds. Commissioner, I'm gonna call Director Adam up, and he's gonna give us an update on the Sycamore tree project.
Commissioners, we're, as you know, that over the last couple of years, we've taken some different steps to try to save that tree, and I have some. If you don't mind, Chairman, can I?
Sir.
So, Commissioners, this is a pamphlet that just kind of will summarize and give you an explanation of some of the work that we've some of the steps that we've taken to try to preserve this tree's life. Just to summarize where we're at, and I guess what a decision that we ultimately had to make. We brought in approximately 2 years ago. We tried to fertilize the soil. We tried to ensure that it was getting ample water, considering the restrictive space that it is in. About a year ago, we brought in a representative from the Davie Tree Service, the Davie Institute. As you are very well familiar with, we attempted a root collar excavation. It did not produce the results. That excavation was followed by page 3, a biostimulant and humic soil additive to try to reestablish a healthy root system. The tree did not take to any of these attempts, so we, I guess, have come to the conclusion that we're going to have to remove the tree because it's at its end of life. Do you have any questions regarding the tree?
Are you going to follow up with what the next steps are?
So this, as you can see, last month we started topping the tree. We're doing this in phases. We were hoping to salvage some of the tree. It was discussed that we would try to utilize some good lumber from the tree, that we might be able to cure it and make something that we could place in our museum. The limbs that were removed last month were rotten, so there was nothing there for us to save. So I can't speak for sure of the remaining portions of the tree, the trunk, everything that's remaining until we're slated for the first week of November to bring Davy Tree Service back in and finally remove the tree. And so we'll know more at that time if we are able to save any portions of the tree. But it's my understanding that plan is, there are some other options, I guess, that are being presented as a possibility for the tree, and I assume that's why we're talking about this tonight.
Oh, yes. I'll explain it. We got other options that some commissioners think we should do with the tree. So therefore, only thing we're doing is taking the tree down as far as we can until we find a good base. Right now, we hadn't found that good base. One thing that we did when we were removing the limbs, we tried to save the limbs, and we were going to save those if we could to do something with, but they were so rotten, we couldn't even save those. So therefore, right now, what we're doing, we're trimming the tree down until we find a good base where we can save it. Now, as far as what happened after we save it, it'll be up to us, to make that decision. But right now, at the present time, all we're trying to do is find a good base on the tree. Now, per se, as moving the limbs, it was an emergency situation to remove those limbs because we have events out there, and it was not safe. Main Street had brought up their concerns about the tree. Risk management had talked to us about that tree. So therefore, we brought in experts, start trimming it to try to save what we can. And that's where we're at now. There's no definite plan has been made for the base. As soon as we find a good spot, a good solid spot that's not rotten, that we can save, then we can make the decision on what to do with the rest of the tree. Any questions? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. When you say you're going to go to a good base, try to find a good base and save the tree, are you talking about actually keeping that base there and saving, like a tree grow from it, or are you talking about just save the wood?
Well, we're going to try to save the wood, number one, and we can make a decision if we want to sculpture the tree or do the base or do whatever. But we do have a plan where we are, and it was in the paper Sunday, but where we are planting 4 sycamore trees around the courthouse, and everybody agree with that project. Hopefully in 5 or so years, we'd have those 4 up around the courthouse. But as far as the existing tree, we're going to try to save what we can, and what we can save, then we can make the decision on what you want to do with it. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to get it clear in my mind. Are you still saying we're going to try to save the tree, it will remain where it is, or you're saying we'll take it out and save the lumber?
No, what we're going to do, where it is right now, we're going to find a good section of it and let it stay where it's at right now. And then, once we find that section, it'll come back to us to make a decision on what we want to do. Right now, our main goal is to find a good solid section of the tree where it's at. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Commissioners, the reason why we have to come back is because so far, we haven't found any portions of the tree as of yet that would be suitable to discuss any other options other than just removing it completely. But if in the process of next month, when we start the removal process, if as they're cutting, if we do find that there are portions of this tree that are suitable, then we'll have that decisive information, and we'll be able to come back, and at that time you can make your final decision on the sculpting or the furniture or whatever decisions are made. So we should, as we get into it, we were unsuccessful thus far with what we did remove. It was rotten. So this next month, we should have some more information so that you can make a final decision.
Any other questions on the tree? Not, let's move on. Single Florence Road update.
Commissioners, I believe it was last month we had the Chamber of Commerce here, and they were talking about the Singer Florence Road property and made some suggestions of some things that the county could do that would be beneficial if we decided to sell that property. And what the mayor's office has done is we've gotten a few quotes. These are probably not ready to go out to bid yet, but we were just trying to get a ballpark of where this would be. Surveying or subdivision plat would be about $6,500. Phase 1 environmental would be about $3,000. Geotechnical about $10,000. Phase 2 environmental about $4,800, and then the appraisal around $3,000. So those were the quotes that we've gotten. Each of you should have had a copy of the packets of the information that the mayor's office has received thus far. If you have any questions.
Eric, we're talking about 4 different plats. If we add those together, what's the total amount of acres?
I'm doing this from memory, but I believe it's about 19.
Okay. So make it more suitable for some industrial, commercial entity to go in there. The bigger it is, probably the better it's going to be.
Well, and getting all of those plats into one parcel helps as well. So that's something that they would not have to do once they purchase the property.
Very good, thank you.
Any questions?
What's the thinking behind the geotech piece? Just to understand what's there, or is
Yes.
it targeted towards somebody, or what's the thought process?
Yeah, as my understanding, that was one of the things that the Chamber of Commerce recommended that we did, so that they had that to put in their marketing materials, so that they could let the prospective buyers know that there were suitable soils or not.
I think if some industry wanted to buy that and put something in there, they would have to perform some geotechnical study, and they're getting it out of the way in the front end so that they would know that it's acceptable. Anthony, you might help me with this, but back when we were young, there were a number of, in essence, train wrecks right in that area, and there were things spilt in that area. So I think they're doing due diligence to make sure that soil is not contaminated.
Yes, and I appreciate that. I understand the phase 1 aspect of it, and I understand the other pieces. I'm just trying to figure out what the geotech piece of it is and what the goal is. Is there somebody in mind, or is it just kind of background data? Because a lot of times these are kind of specific, in terms of is it suitable or not?
Thank you, Chairman. Looks like the county solicited a bid or quote from TTL, a very reputable Middle Tennessee soil scientist company, and it's very typical in the commercial world for the buyer to have some validation of what they're buying. The quote is 6,800. Excuse me, it's 10,500, and it looks to be in keeping with their activity that I've seen in my professional life.
Thank you, Commissioner Dodd. Any other questions?
It's a total of about $30,000, though, this package. So we do need to be cognizant. We really want to be selling it if we're going to. I know you're not asking for any action tonight, but and I put $1,000 in extra engineering just as a cushion on the first item, the SEC component. So it's a significant step on our part. So I don't want to take it lightly. So thank you for getting us prepped, and we don't need to do this unless we are serious about selling it.
To that point, should we do some kind of appraisal first, just to get a sense for what it's worth, so we can make an assessment of, $30,000 up front, we're going to get X dollars down the road, maybe, if environmental's clean and everything else. I'm trying to just get a sense for 30 grand up front, not that high, but at the same time, what do we think it's worth?
The chamber had used some numbers previously. I just don't recall what they were.
200,000 acres.
200 per acre is the round figure to start with, and I think we could use that number. So as a percentage of the total, 30 is very small, and I think we could have the frame of reference of a $4 million round figure to base that 30 on. So as a percentage, it's cheap, but just, unless we're ready to list it, of course, we won't spend that money.
If we sold it, I would think that maybe we could recoup some of that 30,000 in the selling price, couldn't we, Commissioner Dodd?
As I recall, the chamber saying that they felt like doing these things would help sell it and get a better price for it. So I don't know that we can quantify that we would get $30,000 exactly back from it, but I think the chamber believes, and we could let Mr. Latour come in and address this, but I think he believes that by doing these things, that may increase the price.
Commissioner Johnson?
Originally, when I brought this up, I mentioned selling or whatever we wanted to do with the property. One thing we could possibly do too, we're looking for property for schools. We've got a large parcel there that's industrial, should be worth more than what we're looking at for schools. So maybe we could work that in as a part of the deal on a land swapper, or use that value against purchasing for schools.
That's a good idea. It's a lot we can do with that piece of property. As you know, if you know where the property is at, there's a lot of development going around in that area, right there in that one particular spot. So therefore, it probably will be a good investment for somebody. So I don't see no problem with the growth and the development in that area. Of course, Anthony Johnson know more about that development in that area, that we don't have some buyers for it. So, any questions about the property? I got a question for the committee. Do you want us to proceed with advertising this property, or the Chamber of Commerce proceed on with it, or do you want to, like Commissioner Irvin mentioned, want to get a full appraisal before we let them proceed on? What do we want to do from here? Mr. Dodd.
just the immediate thought I had when you asked that was, I think I would want to bring it up at the, I don't know, I'd like the full commission to be aware. It's a big piece of land. We don't, quote, need the money. So I don't know, it's a big decision. I don't want it to just rest on us. But so I'm just asking for direction, as well as you, Alan. I do want the full commission to hear it. Whether we make a motion of positive or negative, I want the advice of the other commissioners.
I understand. Commissioner Johnson?
I agree with that 100%. But I also, and the reason I said what I did a while ago is I'd like to see the school board involved in this too, to see if, I don't know what property they're looking at, and maybe that could be worked into their talks or not, but at least have that on the table. And if school board doesn't know about it, then, they don't know about it, so they can't bring that to the table.
What I can do, I can discuss it with the school board, and we can present it at the next commissioner meeting, and let the full commission, like Commissioner Dodd, make a decision on what way we should proceed with this property. I don't know if we need a motion on that or not, but I'll accept the motion to that effect and move on.
Mr. Chairman, my memory is that the Chamber of Commerce is already involved in this, and they've already listed the property for sale on a regional or a national basis, trying to recruit new industry for Rutherford County utilizing that piece of property. And what they ask us to do would be to clean the property up. We've already done that, or still doing that, and then perform the geotechnical studies on that. So we're doing what the Chamber of Commerce has asked us to do to make that as marketable as possible and get as much money out of it. I don't know whether we need a motion or not, but because I think the Chamber's already involved in it, if I'm not mistaken. But if we want to clarify that, it would be a motion that we continue to work with the Chamber of Commerce to market and sell that piece of property and forward it on to the full commission for informational and the final decision.
Hear the motion. Do I hear a second on that motion? Got a second from Commissioner Davison. Any discussion on the motion?
Is this, I'm sorry, what exactly is the motion? Sorry. To forward it to the commission? Is that what, or I think it probably should go through budget too, maybe, but okay.
I don't think this committee can make that final decision. So like almost every other motion or resolution, we forward it on the full commission. They make the final decision. That's what the motion is.
Okay. Okay, without a recommendation or anything, and then the commission will make a decision as to whether or not to spend $30,000, and then it stays at the Chamber of Commerce level? Is that the thought process? Just trying to clarify what the process is.
I'm not, as I was saying, I'm not 100% sure where we are with this, but I remember the Chamber of Commerce, the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce was up here a month or two ago talking about they are already marketing that. So I'm not sure we've got a contract with them or what, but the motion I made was to clarify that and make sure that we're on solid ground with the Chamber of Commerce continuing the marketing of that and us to communicate that for the full commission to make that decision. So I just wanted to get us moving on the process.
Get the project moving, and it was seconded by Commissioner Davison, but it will not hurt for me to approach the school board and ask them their opinion. Do they have any idea? And maybe we can bring that up also at the full commission, what their idea is. We can do that also under this motion. and we can proceed on from there with it. Commissioner Irvin?
What exactly are we what are we sending to the school board? Or
We're not
ask?
sending anything to the school board. Commissioner Johnson brought up the idea that we could ask the school board if they are looking for any school property, that maybe we could do a swap or whatever with this property for a particular school property. Am I right, Commissioner Johnson? And that's all we're doing. All we're doing is asking. Not doing any, we're not making no decision or no nothing. But this information will be presented. I'll bring it up and present it to the full commission as information only.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think Eric is plenty, is he still here?
He's gone.
I think Eric is plenty capable of communicating with the school board and school superintendent that this piece of property is available, and if they're viewing some property and whoever's selling that is interested in some type of a swap, we could pursue that. But you can do it, or Eric can do it, or the mayor can do it, anybody can do it, just for informational purposes only.
Okay? All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Motion passed. Next, facilities maintenance report, Director Dodd.
Hello again, Commissioners. Commissioners, my report this month will be brief, as as we're kind of in a planning preliminary stages and completion stage on one of our projects. So I'll start tonight off with the Plainview location, Public Health and Safety Building. TDEC has now issued the stormwater permit. The site work has commenced. It has been determined that the city of Murfreesboro will require a building permit and a landscape agreement because like our other public health and safety buildings, we're tying into their sewer system. Initially, we were under the impression that permits and fees would be waived for this project. There was some confusion early on in the preliminary process between the civil engineer and the city of Murfreesboro. This information was given to the general contractor during the bid process. However, the good news is that the city of Murfreesboro recognized this and has agreed to work with the civil engineer and the general contractor to review and issue permits promptly. We do not anticipate any further delays associated with permitting, and we estimate the total fee amount based on previous projects, previous alike projects, that these fees should fall somewhere between $27,000 and $30,000. The additional fees will not affect the budget or the overall GMP on this project. The contractor has now has erosion control and land disturbance measures in place. Most initial grading work is completed. Stone encapsulation to subgrade is now complete. ECS proof rolls have passed inspection, so the need for any further undercutting is minimal at this time. This will result in additional budget savings that will more than offset the cost of the permitting. And I don't have, of course, we won't have those numbers finalized, but the contingencies that the contractor allowed for undercutting and rock and excavating for subgrade, he's probably going to, if he has completed that process now, if he's that far along in the process, we could be looking at about $150,000 in savings right there in contingency. So we're not in a this is not a impact to our budget. This is not a delay to the project. The city of Murfreesboro, the contractor as well as the civil engineer, have already submitted all the necessary documents to the city for review. So we anticipate those permits soon. Our 4 weeks look ahead, we should see all the initial grading work, the building pad completed and pass inspection, temp power to site. Their field office will be fully operational. We should see building corners and surveying staked. Concrete reinforcing steel delivered to site within the next 4 weeks. And that will complete my report on the Plainview Public Health and Safety Building.
Any questions on Plainview?
I don't have very much to report tonight on the Recovery Court project. The architect sent over the owner-contractor agreement as a finalized draft last week. So that draft has now been reviewed and finalized, and that was reviewed by the county attorney, Eric in the mayor's office, our project manager with the architecture firm, and myself. Again, I anticipate permitting, bond insurances, and a potential construction schedule within the next 4 weeks.
Any questions on Recovery Court?
We're gonna finalize our report on the recycling center renovations. It's been about 3 months, and that's kind of what we anticipated that project to take. That project is now complete. The final walkthrough was completed this week. The keys, closeout documents have been turned over. Solid waste. The solid waste department anticipates moving in over the next 2 weeks and to open up services and become fully operational after that. Bishop, would you say that probably late October, early November, that center will be back open to the public?
Yeah, back open to the public.
Oil base, paints, electronic recycling only. Commissioners, do you have any questions on the recycling center? Because Bishop is sitting in the audience. He would be happy to answer those questions for you.
Any questions? You're next anyway. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bishop Wagner, Rutherford County Solid Waste Director. To answer your question, yes, we'll public notice it. We'll put it on our social media, and we'll make sure that you all are. This is the phase one of a multi-phase project. The compactor that we're used for our single stream is still going to be down. So we're working on that second phase presently, but I want to take this time, since I've got you all in front of me, and Adam is your guy, to thank Adam. He's knocked us out of the park. This facility, and I know I'm not talking out of school here. When Adam and I first looked at this as a potential project, both of us said bulldozer, and he was able to really cost effectively come together and really timely come together with salvaging what is a very strong building, and it's going to be we hope to be a showcase for the recycling efforts of Rutherford County for years to come. Oh, sure, yeah. Adam just asked about what the long-term plan would be for this facility is I see this as being a focal point for attracting education and outreach activities for the community to come and learn about Rutherford County's recycling activities. There's an area, the old area where you used to go when you had your TVs and you had to go where the little desk was. That's effectively a classroom in my mind now, where we want to put a presentation screen and maybe some interactive activities in there and invite schools to come to us to talk about recycling and diversion activities and allow them to kind of have more of a hands-on approach by some interactive activities that we tend to take out to the community and other events, but we'll have a focal point to be able to do that there. And then it's also a really nice place for us to have. It's centrally located here in, of course, the city of Murfreesboro, where we don't have convenience centers around. It kind of allows us to help showcase that we do offer that service as well out to the community. So one of the things I noticed when we had to suspend recycling services at this center was that the majority of the population in the city limits that have curbside collection of their waste didn't really know that there were recycling options that were available to them out at the county convenience centers free of charge. So this kind of helps us to grow that, and my goal is to ultimately increase our diversion rates so that we can as a community recycle more.
Any other questions on the recycling center?
If there are no other questions, a lot of this, I've just updated some imagery. This is basically the same stuff we had
Transfer station.
last month. Transfer station, yes, sir. Grading site and grading and utility site work, the structural construction progress, and the project components and their bid statuses as of today. And here's our overview of the site in the artistic plan. The overall on the, just to kind of get this fresh in your mind, what we're going to be looking at here. This is now my screensaver on my computer in my office. It's probably one of my favorite images that we have of the site. You can see kind of an overall view. For those of you that haven't had the opportunity to be out to this facility, you can see the building that's down in the lower right-hand corner of the image. That's where we're currently operating out of. So that's the entire solid waste department and our fleet and our maintenance service and everything is all in that area. So here is the plan for the transfer station. And this is what the station is presently looking like. As you can see, we're looking right now at some of the pillars that on the outside of the transfer station. They're formed up and ready to pour the pillars. There are 5 bays in this transfer station, and each one of those bays is protected by a concrete pillar. The steel for the building will go in the center of that pillar and be protected from trucks. This is a quite substantial pit wall. There are two loading pits. The one for we anticipate construction and demolition debris, and one for municipal solid waste. One of them will have a compaction, internal compactor, and the other one will be for open waste. What we're looking at is the closest is the one for open waste, and keep in mind, none of the fill has been done on the outside of it, so we're just looking at it all the way down at subgrade. Eventually that will be filled and sloped off on this side, and none of that will be exposed once the steel is erect. This is some of the interior backfill that's occurring now. So when you build the wall, you have to have a space in between. So of course the workers can form up and pour and make sure all the steel and the concrete's poured appropriately. So now we're in the phase of backfilling that up to subgrade so that they can pour the concrete on the inside of the floor. They anticipate to start having this filled and get some concrete going as early as later next week. Here is the office building plan. It's approximately 12 feet from the corner of the transfer building to this. It is currently formed And this picture was taken maybe a day ago. This afternoon when I was leaving, they've got all of the subgrade ready for concrete, and they've got plastic covering in anticipation of the rain. Prior to that, all of the building's utilities are stubbed out and ready. This is a rendition of the scale house, and the scale house effectively is in the same condition as it was before. It's in subgrade status. They're going to be working starting next week, rain permitting, on the weather permitting, on the getting that formed up and getting ready to go. So I have one of these numbers in here has changed since I got that's the Moody number. I have a updated number here. I put this together and got it in before I got the official number. I apologize. So instead of the to-date payout for Moody at $1,945,000, it is at $2,035,653.11. That's up to date as of today on the payouts. The Boyce Ballard construction payout to date is at $757,772.25. We anticipate another one that will be coming in soon. These are some of the exterior hydrants that have been set up. The site work in the general area, the utility work in the general area of the structures is complete and ready for Moody to come in and start their second phase of concrete pour on the road that will be going around the facility. And here's an update on the bid process. The black is what I presented last month. This month, the bids came in too high and were rejected for the landfill road improvement, and SEC is working with the Rutherford County Highway Department and the mayor's office to develop some options. I'm awaiting a date on when they plan to rebid them. I've been told by SEC that those are close. A utility connection and pre-construction meeting was held. Of course, we did not receive any bids on that. SEC made a recommendation that the method that we'd initially put in the scope of work wasn't as necessary as we'd thought previously. They spoke with the city of Murfreesboro, and they agreed that they would allow us to do a more cost-effective method to be able to make these utility connections. So we're optimistic that we'll be able to go out to rebid and get some folks that'll come back in, that'll have, and the bids will be a lot more realistic or competitive to what we expected they'd be. Any questions? Come on by and see it. It gets different every day. I'll see you next month.
Any questions? I think Bishop will be giving us an update at each meeting. And if you have any questions between now and next meeting, just write them down and he'll be glad to answer them. Any other questions, any other business to come up? Commissioner, Director Dodd, you got something you'd like to bring before us?
Apologize to Chairman Phillips. Last month, eventually Bishop, we will get the hang of this. We'll get the hang of this swap out business. The question was presented last month in regards to PBA assignments. So in regards to the PBA, I'm not involved in those discussions, and I have not been involved in those discussions. I am assigned to projects accordingly as they come up, and the mayor assigns me to those projects. So as far as a determination on the PBA's involvement in those projects, I would refer you to the mayor's office or Michael Smith's office for that answer. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other question, Commissioner Phillips?
No, other than the mayor makes a recommendation, but we as a commission can also make a recommendation that before we approve it, it would have to go through the Public Building Authority. Don't want to enter any conflict situations, but there have been some questions asked over the last couple of years as to why wasn't that presented to the Public Building Authority. So we need to make those things a little bit more clear. Adam has worked very well with the Public Building Authority on some buildings that we've had, and it doesn't make any difference to Adam 100%, whether it's working with contractors or working through the PBA. But it's the reason I asked that question. And then the mayor can make a recommendation. Also, the commission can make a recommendation through either this committee or Public Works or any other appropriate committee. So thank you for making that clear, Adam. Appreciate that.
They can make the recommendation through the full commission if they so desire. If the committee would like, I can ask PBA to give us a monthly report if the committee would like that. I see shaking head yes. So we can add that. There's more information, and it really we need it to keep us up to date. Like Commissioner Phillips said, we might have something we want to add, or we may have something we want to take away. So therefore, next month I would ask that we get a report from the PBA. Any other questions? Not entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you.